I got early access to a screening of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. How did I swing this? I have connections. As in, I connected my Amazon Prime account to my Atom Tickets account and went to the Prime member screening on the 19th of March. I enjoy seeing movies in the theater, and I enjoy Dungeons & Dragons, so I figured that this would be the best of both worlds. It was, however, this movie screening that made me realize I don't like seeing movies in theaters. I like seeing movies in IMAX theaters that have big comfy recliner seats where the guy next to me doesn't spread his legs like he's doing the splits, and the guy on the other side of me doesn't smell like the kind of guy who plays Dungeons & Dragons as a waifu simulator. Why is this pertinent information to include in a Dungeons & Dragons movie review? Because before the film started, at least at this early screening, a short video of the entire cast saying that you're the real hero for watching movies in theaters played, and I couldn't help but think that the real heroes are the poor souls in the rotoscope department at Industrial Light and Magic. The movie itself starts exactly how one would expect a D&D movie to start. The player character is doing something stupid, and it never lets up from there. The movie truly captures the magic of a group of friends sitting down for their second campaign and leaning into the ridiculousness. What do you mean, what do I mean second campaign? Well, in the least spoiler way possible, Chris Pine lays out his entire backstory in a 10-minute info dump at the start of the movie, and we learn about the circumstances that lead to where the film picks up. The backstory is laid out in two segments, the character's backstory, and a recap of the previous campaign leading to this new one. We learn that Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Hugh Grant were all in an adventuring party together. The humor in the film also feels like second campaign humor, where the players have all had their epic story and can now focus on the sillier aspects of role-playing. Chris Pine leads into his roguish charm as a bard, Michelle Rodriguez plays the perfect blend of sincere character and a stupid barbarian, Justice Smith lets his sorcerer abilities run wild, and Hugh Grant is Hugh Grant. This style of humor works well and creates that authentic D&D feeling of genuine emotion in the silliest of moments. Without going into spoilers, I give the movie a 7 out of 10. It's a great fantasy flick with lots of deep nods to the audience members who love the realm of Faerun, but the pacing is a little quick and the world feels small because very little screen time is dedicated to the travel between locations that should be far away in the setting. By the way, there is no post-credit scene, only a mid-credit scene, which I only bring up because if you haven't seen the movie and care about spoilers, this is the last stop on the train for you. Do me a favor and like and subscribe as you metaphorically step onto the hypothetical platform. For the rest of you, you either want me to validate your opinions or to know what happens in the movie and save the $20 you'd spend on the theater, so buckle up and yell at me in the comments. Back to the second campaign idea, Hugh Grant's player heard they were starting up a second campaign and wanted to try something new, hence Doric. It makes sense, right? The other three players were content with continuing their story, but we all have that one friend at the table who's more than willing to let the DM take over their character if it means they can pull another from the pile of character sheets sitting in their closet waiting to be played. Also, Doric is the only one whose name I remember. This isn't the movie's fault, but it's also why I haven't used the characters' names up until this point. Except I did also remember in the middle of writing this Holga's name. Holga is my favorite character from the movie for one simple reason. Low-end barbarians are my favorite. She doesn't talk much during the prison scene, but displays her strength by swiftly wharfing a fellow prisoner. Her relationship with the halfling is played as a joke to start, but it also turns into a scene of genuine emotional vulnerability. If the movie is the quintessential blend of silliness and seriousness of Dungeons & Dragons, it's in no small part due to the writing and portrayal of Holga. One problem with Holga, though, is that she fights less like a barbarian and more like a monk. A lot of hand-to-hand combat, which barbarians aren't stellar at. She does get an axe, but hardly uses it until the climax of the movie. Similarly, Chris Pine doesn't fight like a bard, or act like a bard, or have the backstory of a bard. Chris Pine's character has the backstory of an Oathbreaker paladin and the skill set of a rogue with the improvised weapon and performer feats. At no point does he do anything bardish other than maybe at the beginning when he persuades the Pardon Council. He casts no magic and plays 3 songs, one of which was in his backstory and the other of which was done by an illusion cast by Justice Smith. Chris Pine isn't a bard, he's a high charisma rogue. He even gets a sneak attack on the big bad evil guy in the final battle. The only character whose full class we know for certain is Justice Smith, who's a sorcerer. Not just any sorcerer though, a wild magic sorcerer. A wild magic sorcerer whose wild magic only comes into play once and is offhandedly referred to as wild magic and never even brought up again. His arc to become more confident with his magic would have been so much cooler if he'd turned into a potted plant halfway through the escape from Thembershad. But there wasn't really time to explore him, or any character other than Chris Pine really. The movie moved too fast. It never slowed down and it just moved from objective to objective. Like we got to sit in for snapshots of each session leading to the finale, where the sorcerer finally realized he'd been rolling a d12 instead of a d20 the whole time, and the DM realized how wild shape actually works. It's a really decent movie, but the pacing issues and lack of development for secondary characters beyond the most surface level believe in yourself bullshit holds it back. Like I said, 7 out of 10, and subscribe and tell me how I'm wrong in the comments.